Hello everyone, so I've been visiting friends and family out in Thailand. I try to go back almost every couple of years. There was so much good food to enjoy, I got to appreciate the culture, there were many awesome things to see. And of course, while I'm out here I like to go hunting for retro games, because, you know, gamer and all that. The retro gaming scene does have a little bit of a presence over here. Back in the mid-90s it was dominated by a lot of bootlegs, with even the major supermarkets stocking fake Famicom and PS1 games. You can still readily buy a lot of these bootlegs depending on where you go. I spotted a lot of fake PS2 games on this trip. If you are looking for the real thing, however, one of the places I do like to frequently visit has been the O-Corner shop in the MBK Centre. The shop stocks PAL European, North American and Japanese video games, and I have bought a couple of bits and pieces from this guy before. It's fun to come back and visit every so often just to see what's in stock. He is pretty good, but he does tend to price things maybe a little bit too high, and unfortunately you do still have to be wary of counterfeit cartridges. I don't think he knowingly stocks them, but the guy was always happy enough to let me open things up and check. It might be considered a little bit rude to haggle prices, so if you're not interested, just politely decline and move on. Nothing for me this time, but I was certainly tempted by a few things. It was mostly just eBay prices from what I could see. I did grab a couple more Game Boy cartridges for the collection at least. I might replace the label on this one. I definitely want to check out some of the other retro game places I've been recommended next time, but I did find most, if not all, retro game sellers tend to have an online store in Shopee, which I guess is kind of the Thai equivalent of an eBay. I've been using it a lot more recently, and I found some pretty amazing deals. Like this really clean Japanese Super Famicom Super Scope. The box was pretty beat up and faded, but that doesn't really bother me. I managed to get it for roughly the equivalent of £10, complete with the sensor bar and the Super Scope 6 cartridge. Not bad. You will need a genuine Thai home address to use it, so I just got things sent to my mother-in-law's house. You do have to be a little wary of counterfeit copies again, so I did have to use either Google Translate or harass my partner to read the descriptions on some of the items. My major Shopee purchase this time, however, was the Nintendo Famicom AV. I've been after one of these for quite a while. It came complete in box with 2 controllers, really nice condition, very satisfied with this. It even included the manual. I do love the little illustration inside. This did cost roughly about 4,000 baht, which is the equivalent of £90 to £100, so not bad overall. If you happen to be from the UK like myself, a Mega Drive Model 1 power cable will still work on the Famicom AV just fine. This is what I've used for my American Super Nintendo and nothing has exploded on me, well, not yet anyway. So a quick rundown of the Famicom AV. This is a revision of the original Famicom console. The top-loaded design was also released in the US, but from my understanding the American variant lacks the AV output for whatever reason. I don't think it ever saw a European release, so it's all completely new to me. This is my first time holding the dog bone controller, and it's actually pretty comfortable to hold. It feels so different to the NES pad, not sure which one I prefer actually. The controller cables are way too short, but I can at least still use my NES pads if I really wanted to, so it's not too much of an issue I guess. I never actually owned a Famicom myself, so it was pretty cool seeing the various differences compared to my old NES. The different box arts, for example, the Super Mario Bros. Artwork looks amazing. And these little cartridges are just so colourful, I kind of want to collect more. So since I really wanted the authentic Famicom AV experience, the next step was to find myself an old TV to play my games on. This is where we decided to visit my father-in-law's old hotel. Most rooms did include a television set before they were all relocated into storage somewhere within the hotel, so I thought I'd go nab one for myself. In the hustle and bustle of the city, it actually feels kind of peaceful and serene here. We paid our respects to the shrine, prayed for the success of this video, and since we were out here in October, I thought it might be more exciting to come back in the middle of the night. Sorry to wake you up, we're just here for the TV. Now there is a good chance I may get Silent Hill'd, Resident Evil'd, Dead Spaced or some other video game horror reference, but we got to do it for the TV. The Udon Thani Hotel opened in 1972 and was permanently closed in 2019. The hotel has 7 floors with over 160 rooms. Apparently one of the first hotels in Udon Thani to include lifts. It is a bit of an interesting time capsule just from their general decor and design. Bit of a shame it's permanently closed down now, and I know the family have been trying to sell it or possibly convert it into a care home. But for now, all these TVs are mine. I just hope none of these are haunted. Some of these were broken, so we did have to sell off a few for cheap to students studying electronics, so they will still get used. I hate to break the illusion, but the hotel is well guarded, and since most rooms and certain areas of the building were locked, we were accompanied by the security guard, who was all too happy to explain the hotel's history to me. I think there's even a guard dog here, so no, don't venture in here by yourself without permission. And eventually I decided to settle on this old Panasonic, as I did used to own one in my old college days. I remember the Panasonic models being pretty good. I tend to find the colours do look a little more washed out, maybe compared to the Sonys or the Philips, but I think I'm happy enough with this. We also couldn't find the remote, so we were permanently stuck with that AV font display on the screen. I can just feel the radiation coming off this thing, but man, old games really do look so much better on an old TV set. I know we all like to fawn over scan lines, and to be fair, I have seen some pretty convincing CRT filters over the years. But there's nothing quite like the real thing. This is exactly how I remember playing the original Super Mario Bros. Just playing it late at night with nothing but that glow of the screen got me feeling all nostalgic. Still a really fun game. And I've always been quite fond of the sequel, Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Doki Doki Panic or Super Mario Bros. USA. I just like being able to play as the different characters, like Toad.
I'm the red one. Ready?
Yep. My wife also wanted to play some of her favourite games that she grew up with, such as Balloon Fight here. I couldn't seem to beat any of her high scores at Mappy. I'm terrible at that game. And I still really like Galaga. I think I still prefer it over the sequel, Galaxin. This is another game I used to stay up all night and play. Nothing But You, the hum of the TV, and tiny electronic sound effects. Kind of miss that feel, to be honest. So whenever we weren't out adventuring, we were playing old Famicom games. It was great. Unfortunately, when it was time to go, I did have to leave the Panasonic behind. I'm not sure if it's even worth shipping this over to the UK. But I did take my Famicom console and the games back home with me. Most of these purchases were via Shopee. I think the prices were somewhat reasonable. Gradius 2 was probably the most expensive game I bought, but considering the condition, I think I'm pretty happy with this. Rockman 5 was the only decently priced Rockman game I could find. You really have to shop around. I know the Famicom edition of Ghosts and Goblins isn't great, but this copy was reasonably priced, and just the art inside the manual looks incredible. Super Mario USA was a bit pricey, but again I think it was close to what you'd usually pay on eBay, and it did look in great condition. There was an old price sticker in yen on my copy of Kirby, which almost translates to the same price I bought it for. I really want to go retro game hunting in Japan one day. I was a little bit sad about leaving the Panasonic behind, but just as a little update, I did find a very reasonably priced Bang & Olufsen television set when I arrived back home. The Famicom looks amazing on this thing. I am a bit tempted to ask a friend to install the RGB mod on the console. Probably not right now because I spent way too much money on plane tickets, old televisions and retro video games. I am completely bankrupt. Oh, but it was so worth it. And this feels like a great place to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed a look at my Thailand retro gaming adventure. You can find some good deals about, and I would recommend giving the O Corner shop a look if you happen to be in Bangkok. He's got some really interesting gear. There are a couple of other retro gaming places I have been recommended checking out in the city, so maybe I can go next time. Or perhaps you have some recommendations of your own you can share. I'd love to hear. I really want to go back again in 2025, that is if I manage to financially recover. But for now, if you've made it this far into the video, this is where I say thanks ever so much for watching, and I hope I catch you all again next time. Take care.